Welcome to the Lauren Blackwell channel.
The fact that the Tate brothers have said that a lot of the wealth that they portray is part of their business and a lot of their vehicles are rented will not change people's minds, at least not the people who follow them, because this can easily be explained away. So recently we found out that as the Tate brothers are trying to fight extradition to the UK for the numerous charges that they face, part of the filings for that stated that a lot of the wealth and the properties, like the cars and the yacht that they show, is a part of their work, and they do not necessarily own all of those things, that a lot of them are rented. They also said that they are often paid by these companies that manufacture these products to advertise, basically. So the Tate brothers are paid to advertise some of the cars, drive around in the cars, act like they own the cars, and act like they purchase these things by themselves. And then for some of the cars, they said that they rented the cars, and it's all part of their portrayal of wealth so that their followers can see how to live their lifestyle, basically, and bring their followers' dreams to life. I am by no means a supporter of the Tate brothers. Okay, they've done and said some horrendous things. However, I think there's a different way of looking at this, and it is for this reason that I do not think that the followers and people that truly believe in the Tate brothers will be discouraged by this news that has been released about the Tate brothers. So here's what I think. Okay, I think that a lot of people that support the Tate brothers, those young men that support them, are going to go with the excuse that there's a lot of wealthy people that do not own a lot of their properties. Okay, and this will not be very far from the truth, because it is true that a lot of wealthy people prefer not to own a lot of the properties that they use, especially some of the depreciating assets that they purchase, that they use frequently, especially if it can be obtained without them having to purchase it. Because think about it, if you purchase everything that you can afford to purchase as a wealthy person, you will simply have entirely too many things. A lot of people that do purchase the properties that they own, and I'm not just talking about real estate properties, I'm just talking about, the watches, the cars, the boats, and the planes, etc. A lot of them end up having to have multiple warehouses just to store this stuff, and it becomes a headache. You know what they say, what you own ends up owning you. So a lot of these wealthy people actually prefer not to purchase every single thing that they use, including houses that they live in, cars that they drive. A lot of them do not own the planes. The planes are actually rented, even though it has their name on it, just because, they're going to be using it for a long time, and they know how to negotiate with these manufacturers. The manufacturers or the sellers are able to come to some sort of agreement with them, to where you can have your name all over something, you can have your brand all over it, and you still do not own it, and it's just all part of the image. For some of them, it's not even an image thing, they just don't want to own this stuff. I've heard of a lot of wealthy people that forgets where they left their luxury cars. They can't find it. Obviously, luxury cars are easy to locate, but they don't care to search for it, and so they're abandoned in random places. I've heard of wealthy people not remembering where their boat is. They can find it if they searched, if they asked somebody to search, but they just couldn't be bothered. So when you're living that kind of a lifestyle, it becomes an inconvenience to constantly buy stuff if you can obtain them and use them at any time without having to purchase it. The problem with purchasing things is that you have to find where to store it. Okay, that's the number one issue. As you relocate, and they tend to move around a lot, live in different places and during different seasons, etc. You have to keep moving this stuff back and forth, your boat, your plane. I mean, it's like it becomes a hassle, and a lot of them would rather not deal with it. So it's not easy to see that a person can have enough money to purchase a lot of these things and still choose not to purchase it. I'm not saying that this is the reason why the Tate brothers do not own a lot of these cars that they show off, but I'm saying it's not that strange for a person with money to decide not to purchase and to rent instead. But that's not the biggest reason, though, that a lot of wealthy people do not purchase their assets. The biggest reason is for tax purposes, obviously. There is a lot that can be gained when a person does not put their name as owners of all of these assets that they use. Sometimes it's owned by their company, but not owned by them. Sometimes it's in a trust, so it's technically not owned by them, their trust owns it. Sometimes it's just rented because they're able to get tax benefits from using these assets for their business without owning it, and having to say that they use these cars for personal reasons. So there's huge tax benefits, which is a huge incentive for a lot of wealthy people to not own the stuff that they can afford to purchase. If you guys know Grant Cardone, he's big in the real estate world. He never used to own a house. I don't know if he owns a house now. I mean, okay, he's big in real estate, and technically he does own multiple houses because he's a huge real estate guy, but on paper he doesn't own any houses. At least he never used to own any houses, even though he's a billionaire in real estate. So imagine how he was able to navigate. He's able to live in these nice houses. He's able to work successfully as a big real estate guru. He's very well known, and he doesn't own a house. His family lives in different very nice houses in different parts of the country depending on his work, but he chose not to own a house. Elon Musk, who can obviously afford a house, never used to own a house. I don't know if he owns one now, but for a long time he did not own a house. He owned this little, I don't know what to call it, that he lived in, and it's just like buying stuff in a sense is actually something that people that don't have a whole lot do. It gets to a level where obviously you still want to own stuff, but the way you own things is different from the way the average person owns things, especially when you live in the United States with the tax laws and the laws that are available. And sometimes you just want to be a little bit more fluid. You don't want to be stuck. And the problem with owning things is that it begins to make you feel stuck in a place. When you own a house in a place, you have your private jet at the place, you have your boats there, you have a bunch of cars. You can easily begin to feel more stuck at that place than at the place where you're able to just travel, stay at a hotel or an Airbnb, and you don't own anything there and you just pay for stuff, and that makes you feel more, like, it makes you feel lighter, and you're able to move around the world a lot easier. So the fact that the Tate brothers rent and do not own does not necessarily mean that they are just like these dead broke people that cannot afford some of those things. Can they afford all of the things that they show? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. But you know what? You never really know. I mean, we're talking about these guys who have multiple passports and they use different aliases. So people like that are clearly trying to hide who they are at some point. So if someone's trying that hard to hide who they are, do you not think they're going to want to hide at least their ability to acquire certain assets or certain assets that they already own? So it's like you don't just put your entire life on paper when you get to a certain level, you begin to try to hide stuff. And you want to be more fluid. You want to be able to move more easily. So much so that even if you own something, when someone asks you if it's owned by your trust, for instance, you would say, well, no, I don't own this, I don't own that, I rent it. And it's like, I mean, do you really rent it? And even if you rent it, you can still afford it, and like, you can look at someone's bank account and it has not a lot of money, and it's easy to think they don't have a lot of money, but you don't know where they put their money. People park their money in some very interesting places, because when you begin to acquire a lot of wealth, your number one priority is no longer wealth acquisition. Honestly, it becomes more of preservation. And part of that is, where do I hide all of this stuff that I have? Especially if you have the tendency to skirt the law and like have issues with the law, And so when you consider all of these things, it's not that shocking that they do not own every single car that they drive, or the yachts, or all of that. I mean, think about it. If you have the opportunity for someone to pay you to use their cars as a form of advertising, and you get a whole bunch of luxury cars, would you not take it? And if you also have issues with the law a lot, you're in and out of jail a lot, you have all these court cases, your assets are always under scrutiny, like the Tate brothers are. It's been this way for them for many years. Would you not think about how you can limit your physical liability as much as possible? And if that is your thought, why on earth would you be buying a whole bunch of stuff that's just going to sit around while you're out in prison, So in that case, renting will most definitely be the best option. I still do not think that they can afford every single thing that they talk about. I mean, I don't know what their finances are, but when you add that super yacht alone, things become a lot more interesting. And they did say that they use a lot of these things for work, so they're able to get tax benefits from these assets and from renting these. And if they're able to use that to their advantage, I don't see why they wouldn't take advantage of that. I mean, we're talking about the Tate brothers here. They're not exactly the most straightforward people, okay? If there's a corner, they're going to take it. So I'm not surprised at all. And I do not think that this news is going to discourage their followers from saying, oh my God, the Tate brothers have been lying to us. We'll no longer follow him. I don't think that's going to happen. Their followers are very, they follow them religiously and truly believe in what the Tate brothers teach. So they're going to find an excuse. Outside of all of these reasons that I've mentioned, they're going to find an excuse and find a reason why the Tate brothers decided to rent a lot of their assets instead of outright purchasing them. So these are just my thoughts on why I think it's not that surprising that the Tate brothers do not outright own every single thing that you see them with. It's kind of expected, honestly. I'm not surprised at all. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.